The humiliation, the grand courtroom of the alien empire was silent. Thousands of alien leaders from across the stars had gathered to witness this moment. In the center of the room stood a human, tall, bruised, and handcuffed. His name was Elias, Reed, a soldier from Earth. He didn't speak. He didn't bow. He just stood there, quiet and calm, like a storm waiting to happen. Princess Valara of the Zalari Empire walked toward him. Her armor shimmered, her chin lifted with pride. She was beautiful, powerful, and feared across the galaxy. Her voice was smooth but cold. "This is the best Earth has to offer," she said loudly, walking around Elias like a hunter circling her prey. "A simple soldier? A weak human?" The crowd of alien leaders chuckled. Some laughed loudly. Others shook their heads. Elias didn't react. "You were captured after just 2 hours on the battlefield," Valara continued, her voice sharp. "Your people say humans are brave, but you surrendered." Still, Elias said nothing. His face stayed calm, his eyes steady. "Look at him," Valara said, turning to the crowd. "He didn't fight. He didn't resist. He just knelt before my forces. This is what humanity truly is, small, soft, and scared." The room echoed, with laughter again. Valara walked back to Elias and looked into his eyes. "Say something, human," she whispered. "Beg, cry, make this fun." Finally, Elias smiled. It wasn't a big smile. It was small, quiet, but it froze the air. "You'll remember this day," he said softly. Valara blinked. Her smile faded for just a second. "What did you say?" she asked. "You'll remember this day," Elias repeated. "Not because you broke me, but because this is the day you made your biggest mistake." The crowd stopped laughing. Valara's eyes narrowed. "You dare threaten me?" Elias didn't answer. He just kept smiling. "Enough," she snapped. "Send him back to Earth. Let them have their broken toy. We have no use for trash." Guards stepped forward. They grabbed Elias by the arms. But as they pulled him away, he turned his head and looked back at Valara one last time. His voice was calm. "You just declared war. Not on paper, not with ships, but with pride. And that is something we never forget." The transport ship was cold and quiet. Elias sat alone, chained to the seat. 2 alien guards stood behind him. They didn't speak to him. They didn't even look at him. As the ship moved through space toward Earth, Elias closed his eyes. He remembered everything. The layout of the alien court, the guards' armor, the weak points in their systems, the way Valara moved. He remembered it all, and he smiled again. He hadn't surrendered. He had gathered information. On Earth, inside a hidden military base deep under the mountains, a general watched the footage of the trial. Other officers stood behind him, silent and tense. "He did well," the general said. "Better than expected." A young officer looked confused. "Sir, they humiliated him." "No," the general said. "He made her talk, made her show off, made her let her guard down. Was that the plan?" The general smiled. "That was Elias's plan. Project Silent Sun is now active." He turned to a screen. It showed the face of Princess Valara. "She thinks she broke a human," the general said. "But she just gave him everything he needed." Somewhere in the stars, Valara sat in her private chamber. She stared at the screen in front of her, replaying Elias's words. "This is the day you made your biggest mistake." She frowned. Why did those words bother her? He was just a human, wasn't he? The human response. The stars passed quietly outside the ship as Elias Reed sat in silence, still chained. The alien guards behind him stood tall and proud, thinking the human was defeated, harmless. But inside Elias's mind, something dangerous was awake. He had memorized everything: security codes, ship systems, alien behavior, even the way they breathed. He had counted every second of his time in the Empire, and now he was going home. Not to rest, but to respond. Earth didn't welcome him with cheers. There was no parade, no news stories, no medals. Instead, his ship landed in a dark hangar under a snow-covered mountain. The doors opened to silence. 2 black-suited officers stepped forward. "Captain Elias," one of them said, "follow us." No questions, no words. Elias simply nodded. They walked through metal corridors, past layers of steel doors and armed guards, deeper and deeper underground. Then they reached a black door with no label. It opened slowly. Inside was a small room. Cold. Empty. Except for one man. General Marcus Hale, the man who had built Project Silent Sun. He stood in front of a screen showing a map of the galaxy. Dozens of red markers blinking across the stars. "Sit," the general said. Elias sat. Hale turned slowly. "How much did you gather?" Elias leaned back, enough to bring an empire to its knees. Hale smiled. "Then we begin." In a secret chamber called Section Black, the highest-level human minds gathered. Scientists, tacticians, spies, hackers, all hidden from the public eye. In the center of the room stood Elias, wearing a gray uniform with no rank, no name tag, no symbols. He was now part of something far beyond the army. "The Zalari think we're still in recovery," one scientist said. "They think we're weak," said another. "Good," Elias replied. "Let them think that a little longer." He tapped a screen. Alien ship designs appeared. Weak points glowed in red. Princess Valara showed off too much. Their pride is their blind spot. A woman from Naval Command leaned forward. "How do we respond?" Elias's voice was cold now, quietly, strategically, and with purpose. Weeks passed. Strange things began to happen across Zalari territory. A weapons factory on their moon shut down overnight, its systems fried by a mysterious virus. No trace, no alarm. An elite guard unit vanished from patrol. Their ships were found floating in deep space. No life signs, no damage, no answers. A power station deep inside their capital exploded. Only one message left behind, written in their own language humans remember. Panic spread. In her palace, Princess Valara stood before her war council. Maps glowed red. Reports played across screens. "This isn't war," one commander said. "This is something else." "They're bleeding us without firing a shot," said another. Valara clenched her fists. "How?" she demanded. "They don't have the reach, the tech, the power." She paused, but something inside her whispered the truth. Maybe they do. She remembered Elias's words again. "You just declared war, not on paper, not with ships, but with pride." She had laughed then. She wasn't laughing now. On Earth, deep underground, Elias stood before a small group of elite soldiers. Their faces were sharp, quiet, deadly. "We're not soldiers anymore," he told them. "We're shadows, ghosts. The response to humiliation is not anger. It's silence, precision, and fear." He activated a screen. A target appeared. "Our next objective. High Command Relay Zeta. Inside Zalari space." "Are we going in loud?" one soldier asked. Elias smiled. "No. We're going in so quiet, they won't even know we were there." The room darkened. A new phase had begun. In the blackness of space, a small human vessel, unregistered, unmarked, slipped past alien scanners. Inside, Elias and his team moved like machines. They weren't fighting to win a war. They were sending a message. No empire humiliates humanity and walks away untouched. Meanwhile, on the edge of the empire, a mysterious signal echoed across the stars. It reached old satellites, deep space outposts, abandoned mining colonies. The message was simple. Project Silent Sun has activated. No one knew what it meant. But fear began to spread. Because if humans were silent, they were planning something very loud. Behind enemy eyes, before the strikes, before the silence, before the fear, Elias was just a prisoner, or so they thought. Months earlier, inside a cold cell deep within the Zalari Empire, Elias sat on the floor, bruised, bloodied, and silent. His arms were bound behind him. His left eye was swollen shut. The lights flickered above him. Guards passed his cell often, laughing. "Look at the human," they said. "Barely alive. Worthless." Elias didn't move. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. His mission had already begun. Project Silent Sun wasn't a military response. It was a long-term infiltration operation. Only 5 humans in the entire galaxy knew it existed. Elias was one of them. His capture wasn't an accident. He had let it happen. Earth needed a man inside the Empire, not just to observe, but to learn how they breathe, how they think, how they fail. And Valara had given him front-row access. Every insult, every beating, every laugh he took was recorded. A small implant hidden beneath his collarbone, a gift from Earth's Black Lab division, collected data on everything. It absorbed language patterns, radio waves, troop formations, control codes, and even facial recognition markers. Every time a guard shouted in his face, Elias learned a little more. Every time a door opened, he counted the timing. Every time a camera blinked, he noticed where it turned. The Empire thought it had broken him. In reality, it had opened itself up. One guard, however, was different. His name was Koro. He was younger than the others, less cruel. Sometimes he gave Elias water when no one watched. Sometimes he asked questions. "Why didn't you scream?" Koro asked one day. Elias stared back, eyes cold. "Because you wanted me to." Koro was quiet after that. "But the next day," he returned, "are all humans like you?" "No," Elias said. "Some are much worse." That made Koro smile. Weeks passed. Slowly a bond formed. Koro was curious, not loyal to the Empire, not truly. He was born into it, but he didn't believe in the hatred. His questions became deeper. What is Earth like? What do humans fear? Why did you smile at Princess Valara? Elias didn't answer most of them, but one night he whispered something that changed everything. "Koro, how badly do you want to know the truth?" In the shadows of a silent cell, Elias and Koro spoke in secret. Koro smuggled small tech pieces, microwires, a data stick, even a pulse key. Piece by piece, Elias built a tiny device under the stone floor. It was a transmitter, one that couldn't be detected. Once complete, it sent a message across space. Short, encrypted. Phase 1, complete. Earth received it. Silent Sun was officially activated, and no one in the Empire had a clue. Then came the trial. Princess Valara summoned Elias from his cell and dragged him into the court. She believed it was a final insult. A show of power, but for Elias, it was the final piece. The courtroom exposed their hierarchy, their pride, their politics. He watched every face, listened to every whisper, counted every guard. When he looked Valara in the eye and said, "You'll remember this day," he wasn't threatening her. He was confirming everything. Back in his cell, after the trial, Koro looked worried. "They're going to send you back to Earth." Elias nodded. "I know." "They think you're defeated." "I know." "What are you going to do?" Elias looked at him for a long time, then said, "I'm going to burn the Empire from the inside." Koro didn't ask any more questions after that. He just stood, bowed once, and left. He never returned. Now, in the present, inside a secure Earth facility, General Hale stood before a group of global leaders. On the screen behind him, Zalari space glowed red. "Phase 2 is ready," Hale said. "How much did Elias bring us?" one asked. Hale pressed a button. Hundreds of alien systems, weak points, ship codes, and tactical layouts filled the screen. He gave us the keys to their entire kingdom. The room went quiet. Then Hale said the words everyone feared and hoped for. "If we wanted to, we could crush them in a week." But he wasn't smiling. "We won't," he said. "Not yet. First, they need to understand what fear feels like." He turned off the screen. Elias was behind enemy eyes. Now he's their shadow. And soon, He looked out the window at the stars. He'll be their storm. The warning space was quiet. Too quiet. In the outer rim of the Zalari Empire, an energy relay station floated above a dead moon. It was guarded by 2 cruisers, shielded by defense drones, and hidden behind electromagnetic fog. No one could enter unseen. No one. Except a human ghost. Inside the station, alarms didn't go off. No doors were forced open. No bodies were found. Yet, when the morning cycle began, every system was offline. Every server fried, and one message glowed across every screen. We remember. At first, the Empire didn't panic. Systems fail. Glitches happen. But then, a fuel refinery on a mining colony exploded from the inside. No bomb. No intruder. Just silence. Followed by fire. Again, the message appeared. We remember, in the capital city of Zalaris Prime, Princess Valera stared at the reports. Her war council was tense. Confused. We've lost 6 assets in 9 days, her advisor said. None of them show signs of attack. This isn't an attack, said another. This is a ghost in the machine. Valera stood slowly. It's him, she said. The human. They laughed at first, but then her voice changed. You didn't see his eyes. You didn't hear his words. I humiliated him in front of the galaxy, and he smiled. The room went silent. So what do we do? Someone asked. Valera looked up. We find him before he finds us. But Elias was already watching. He stood on a cliff edge on a barren world dressed in dark armor with no flag, no rank, no nation. He spoke into a small communicator. Targets Alpha, Beta, and Delta confirmed down. No casualties. All clean. A voice replied in his ear. General Hale. You've started a fire, Captain. No, Elias said. Not yet. This is just smoke. And Valara? She's beginning to sweat. Hale paused. Are you ready for Phase 3? Elias looked toward the sky. She humiliated a soldier. Now we show her what a soldier can become. Phase 3 began without warning. A communication satellite near the Zalari throne world stopped broadcasting. 32 seconds later, every financial record on the Imperial banking grid was erased, not stolen. Erased. Ships were grounded. Trade froze. The Empire stumbled. That same night, across every major screen on their homeworld, a video played. It was a single clip. A dark room. Elias standing in shadow. He spoke slowly. You tried to humiliate a human. You tried to break us in front of the stars. This is your warning. This is your silence before the scream. We are not here for war. We are here for memory. The video cut out. Panic set in. Inside the palace, Valara stood alone in the war chamber. Her guards whispered behind closed doors. The people wanted answers. The Senate wanted peace. But she had no control anymore. Her empire, the one she ruled, with pride, was now scared of a human. And deep down, so was she. A senator confronted her. You started this, he said. You turned a human into a symbol, and now your name is on every target he chooses. He was just one man, Valara said quietly, and now he is many. On Earth, General Hale stood beside a massive screen showing galactic panic reports. He turned to a group of shadow operatives. The Zalari thought strength was in ships and weapons, he said. They never understood that humanity's strength is in memory. You can destroy a ship, but not a grudge. Elias stepped forward. Next target? Hale smiled faintly. Your choice. Elias looked at the map, then at the stars. Take me to her orbit. Valara's palace? One operative asked. No, Elias replied. Just above it. We won't touch her. Not yet. Why? Elias's eyes were cold now, because the worst kind of fear is the kind that watches. That night, Valara looked up into her sky. One blinking red light hovered above her capital high in orbit. No ships, no attack, just a signal. They were watching and doing nothing. and that scared her more than war. Far from the Empire, Elias sat in the dark of a small ship, staring at a worn patch on his sleeve, the same one he wore the day he was captured. He didn't need medals. He didn't need revenge. He only needed them to remember that they mocked a human, and now they feared his silence. The fall of a princess. The night sky above Zolaris Prime had changed, no longer calm, no longer beautiful. A single human ship hovered in low orbit, unarmed, unmoving, unbothered. It did nothing, yet it terrified everyone. It had no name, no signal, no lights, except for one thing. A silent red glow pulsing every 10 seconds, a warning. Inside her private chamber, Princess Valara paced in silence. Her empire was still standing, but it was no longer breathing. Cities were calm, but too calm. The streets were empty, the skies watched, and the people whispered. They whispered his name, not in anger, in fear. Elias. Her war council was no longer loyal. 2 senators had resigned. 3 planetary governors had broken alliances. Others had sent messages to Earth behind her back, begging for peace. But Elias never replied. He never made demands. He simply existed. And that was worse than war. In the Imperial Hall, Valara stood alone before the throne. She remembered her speech months ago, how the crowd had laughed when she humiliated the human, how proud she felt, how powerful, and how wrong. Her voice echoed in her head. Humans are weak. This one is proof. Now, she couldn't finish the sentence, because the galaxy had seen proof. But not of weakness, of something far worse, human memory. At dawn, a signal was received on her private line, encrypted, ghost-coded. Only one man could have sent it. You wanted to be remembered. I will give you that. Meet me, alone, no guards, 1 hour, North Ridge. Come in silence, or the silence continues forever. Her advisors begged her not to go. It's a trap, they said. He'll kill you, they warned. Doesn't need to, she replied. Then she boarded a small unmarked transport alone. No weapons, no crown, just fear and curiosity. The North Ridge was cold and quiet. Ancient ruins stood like broken bones beneath the rising sun. Valara stepped out, breathing in the sharp air. He was already there. Elias Reed. Standing at the edge of a cliff, staring at the Empire. Below, he didn't turn when she approached, didn't move. You asked for this meeting, she said. He didn't answer. So speak, she said, her voice sharp, but not as sharp as before. Finally, he spoke. I wanted you to see what it feels like. She frowned. What? To be alone, he said. To be watched. To be mocked. To have your voice stripped, your power ignored, your name laughed at. He turned now. His eyes weren't angry. They were tired, but focused. You showed the galaxy how to humiliate a human, he said. And you showed them how humans respond. Valara's voice cracked. What do you want? Nothing. Revenge. Already done. She looked confused. Then why am I here? Elias stepped closer. Because this is the moment you fall. He pressed a small device on his wrist. Instantly, a hologram appeared in the sky above them. The broadcast went live. Millions watching, across planets, across systems, even on Earth. The galaxy saw Valara standing alone, face to face with the man she once mocked. And then they heard her voice, tired, shaken. What? What do you plan to do? Elias stared at her. Nothing. You're broadcasting this, she said. Why? Because I want them to see the truth. He turned to the camera now and spoke. She humiliated a soldier, and now her empire is afraid of his silence. Remember that. Not for hate, but for warning. Never confuse kindness with weakness, never confuse silence with surrender, and never, ever humiliate a human. He ended the transmission. The skies went dark. Valara fell to her knees, not from pain, from the weight of being remembered, not as a ruler, but as a warning. Hours later, her own council voted to remove her. not because they hated her, but because they feared what she had created and what might return. Elias walked alone across the rocky ridge, disappearing into the shadows. He didn't kill her. He didn't need to. He made her unforgettable, and in the galaxy's most advanced empire, that was the worst punishment of all. Empire and chaos power doesn't disappear with a bang. Sometimes it slips away in whispers. After the broadcast, the galaxy changed. In one moment, Princess Valera, once the face of alien pride, stood silent and exposed in front of billions. No guards, no words, no victory, and in the eyes of every leader watching, that wasn't a defeat, that was collapse. Within hours, messages flooded across the stars, alliances shattered, treaties burned, systems long held by the Zilari Empire declared independence. Planet by planet, command by command, the Empire fractured. No, one declared war. They just stopped listening. In the heart of the capital, Valera was confined to her chambers. No one dared touch her, not because they respected her, but because they feared who might be watching. Because if she disappeared, who would Elias come for next? In underground networks, smugglers, traitors, rebels, even former enemies whispered one phrase. The humans turned silence into power. Some cheered it, others feared it, but no one denied it. On Earth, General Hale stood before a new global council. Leaders once divided by politics and history now stood united. By fear, by memory, by respect. We are not at war, Hale said, his voice calm, measured. We are remembered, and that is more powerful than any fleet. He turned to the screen, where Elias's last transmission replayed quietly in the background. They will think twice now, not because of our weapons, but because of our will. The room was silent. No applause, just understanding. In a hidden base near Saturn's rings, Elias sat in front of a small console. He watched as reports came in. Governors resigning fleets, disbanding, statues of Valera being torn down. None of it made him smile. Not anymore. He wasn't seeking revenge. He was studying how fast an empire falls, when its fear is no longer aimed outward. In one corner of Zilari space, a rebellion broke out, not led by humans, not organized by Earth, but sparked by something else. A question. If a human could stand alone, why can't we? Freedom spread, like wildfire. The Empire tried to respond, but it had no voice, no face, no symbol to inspire loyalty. Valera was now a curse, a ghost in royal robes. Her name was met with silence, or worse, laughter. In a secured communication room, Valera sent a private message, not to Earth, not to her people, to Elias. What do you want me to do? How do I stop this? Tell me, please. For 3 days, there was no answer. Then one line appeared. You don't. Far away, aboard a human deep space cruiser, a soldier asked Elias, "Why didn't you finish her?" Elias looked up from the console. Because her fall wasn't meant to be quiet. It was meant to echo. So what now? The soldier asked. Elias stood and walked to the window. Beyond, the galaxy spun slowly. Stars blinked like ancient eyes. Now we watch, Elias said, and remember this moment. Why? Because someday someone else will try to humiliate a human. He looked the soldier in the eyes. And when they do, I want them to pause, just for a second, and wonder, what if he's watching? And across the stars, in hidden rooms, and royal courts, they did pause, they did wonder, and they remembered. Not the fleet, not the weapons, not even the words. They remembered the silence, and what followed it. A new warning, years passed, and still the Empire did not speak of Elias Reed by name. His face was erased from archives, his name removed from court records, but his shadow remained. Every strategy meeting, every military draft, every royal speech. There was always one unspoken question. What if he's still watching? Princess Valara no longer ruled. She was not imprisoned, not exiled. She lived in a quiet garden house on the edge of Zelaris Prime. No guards, no crown, just silence. The galaxy believed she had vanished, but one message from her remained, a single transmission hidden in the Imperial archives, not public, not shared, a private video, recorded in a quiet room, her face older but her eyes finally honest. And this is what she said, Valara's message. I once ruled an empire with pride. I once believed fear was power, and I believed humans were beneath us. I was wrong. Not because humans were stronger, but because they were patient, silent, and unforgettable. His name was Elias Reed, a soldier, a prisoner. I broke his body, but not his will, and in doing so, I broke everything we thought made us powerful. He didn't come back with warships, he didn't bring fire, he brought memory, and he gave us a gift no enemy had ever given before. A warning. So if you are hearing this, whoever you are, know this. The galaxy is not ruled by fleets or gold or pride. It is ruled by who it remembers, and the humans do not forget. The message ends, archived, but not deleted. Some believe it was a final act of respect. Others believe it was her confession. But one truth remains. No one ever laughed at a human again. On Earth, in a museum deep beneath old city ruins, a small plaque rests on a single faded uniform. No medals, no rank, just a name stitched into the sleeve. Elias R. Next to it is a single sentence. He was not the loudest, but they all heard him. No one knows what happened to Elias. Some say he disappeared into deep space. Others say he works in the shadows, watching new empires rise and warning them before they fall. Some believe he died in silence, but his legend did not. It traveled faster than light, from one system to the next, from one ruler to another. And every time an empire spoke of conquest, every time they spoke of domination, someone in the room always asked, "Have you forgotten what happened when they humiliated a human?" And the room would go quiet, because no one forgot. In a far-off system, a child asked their teacher, "What is the strongest weapon in the galaxy?" The teacher smiled and pointed to the stars. A quiet human, with a reason to be remembered,